Hi, everybody. I'm back and I wanted to do a short September update. So, if you follow my blog, you know that I've been doing a lot of writing. I've been trying to post to my blog multiple times a week, and I've been getting lots of really good positive feedback, which is appreciated. If you don't follow my blog, you can follow me at Surviving Church and Childhood at WordPress. And so I've been posting a lot of content about what happened to me when I was attending the local United Pentecostal Church in Madison, Wisconsin. And, I talked in depth about my struggles with my parents, but also my abuser. And I've been noticing over the last couple weeks that my anxiety is just getting worse and worse. And it took me a moment to figure out, what was causing it. And I don't know that this writing is the totality of why, but I do think that it is a pretty substantial piece of it. You might say, if the writing is causing you to become really anxious, just stop writing. But I feel really passionate about what I'm writing, and I feel really passionate about, my ability to help other people and perhaps, someone will see something in my story that resonates with them and they will feel less alone in their own trauma. But on the other hand, it has been pretty difficult. Like, I've had a lot of heart palpitations and, all the stuff that goes along with really extreme anxiety. I've had some panic attacks. Because of that, I've been very tired. So it just seems like no matter how much I sleep, it's not enough sleep. And so that's been a little bit of a struggle. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because I think that sometimes people think that because I'm able to talk about these things that happen to me in such a frank way, and because I am the age that I am, that somehow I have it all figured out. And that is most certainly not the case. I struggle every day with my complex PTSD. Sometimes I have good days and sometimes I have bad days, but it never goes away. It can only be made better. And I had really great success with EMDR, and I highly recommend it as a therapy modality. I think that I probably need to go back. I had taken the summer off because I wanted time to sort of assimilate some of the things that I had been working on. I wanted time to just sort of let all of that coalesce. And since I've taken that time, I've found that a lot of the rapture stuff and stuff like that, I'm really doing great with. Like the EMDR really, really, really worked. I think I need to revisit and maybe do some maintenance on some of the issues having to do with my feelings of self-worth and issues with my parents, having to do with the church. And so, I may decide, maybe not till after the holidays, but I may decide to go back this winter and do some more work, because it's funny the things that affect you. So you might think that something that would affect me really strongly would be the sexual abuse. And of course it did, and it does. But there are other things. Like, I wrote recently about my experience being a Bible quiz captain and sort of the pressure that was put on me as a young child, and basically being told, no, you can't quit. And no, you can't even back off or back down and maybe stay on the team but not be the captain. Like, you have to keep doing this. And when I wrote about that, I could feel the stress in my body. I could feel that it was a trauma response, not just oh, this was a sucky situation kind of thing. At that point in time, I was really struggling with some subjects in school and I needed help. And I wasn't really getting the help that I needed. And I was also saddled with a huge amount of memorization because I was not only supposed to memorize my portion of the material, but then I was supposed to circle back around and memorize everybody else's because my quiz coach expected that we would be able to answer every question. And that was a lot of stress for a, 14, 15-year-old child to have to deal with. When I quit, I felt like I was sinning, like I was somehow disappointing God, disappointing authority figures. And, really, it was another situation where I was forced to advocate for myself in a way that I feel like is inappropriate. Like, I feel like my parents probably should have stepped in and said, no, like, she needs to take a break from this. It's like too stressful. But I think in order for that to happen, they would have had to notice that I was stressed. And I don't think my parents ever really noticed that. And so some of the things that I've been writing about are things that probably seem small and probably seem like they wouldn't be that traumatic, but I'm experiencing feelings of that sort of neurological response that you get when you have complex PTSD. I have an Apple Watch, and that is sort of how I knew I was having heart palpitations. My Apple Watch was like, whoa, your heart rate's really high and you're not doing anything, so what's going on? And usually when that happens, I'm like shaking my foot or like tapping my foot or like, fidgeting. And if I stop to think about it, like when the watch goes off, I can tell that like I'm holding my breath and I'm doing all of those classic anxiety things that I do. My PTSD really comes through as like holding my breath, heart palpitations, not feeling like I can breathe even if I'm trying to breathe deeply. Sometimes I get headaches. If I have a panic attack, I will get really cold and I will get really tired. So that's been going on. I've also been kind of irritable, and there really doesn't seem to be a huge reason for it. So I was thinking this morning, because I had a doctor's appointment this morning, and so I had a little bit of time in the waiting room to think, and I was like, what would I tell someone who came to me who told me that they were experiencing the things that I'm experiencing? Well, first of all, one thing that I'm experiencing is just because I have this complex PTSD, even if I'm not in that situation, it feels like I am because the past is present. It's always there. Your mind doesn't move it to the past. It just stays present. And so I can walk around the world like I'm still under the pressure of the church, like I'm still living in this really sad home environment. Like all of those emotions that I was feeling at the time that it happened, if I really think about it, is what I'm feeling when I'm having one of these anxiety attacks. And so when I started thinking about like what would I tell someone who is going through the same thing as I'm going through, the first thing that I came up with is you have to remind yourself constantly that what you're feeling is not reality. Because when you have complex PTSD, and even if you don't, I mean, even if you just have some trauma because of your church experience or because of your sexual abuse experience or whatever, you have to sort of remind yourself that the feelings that you're feeling are just feelings, and that the messages that your body is trying to send you that you're in danger, you're not in danger, right? You're like, if you're out of that situation, you're out of that situation, you're not in danger. And so I did that exercise with myself as I was walking outside. I was like, it's a beautiful day. I don't have to go back home to my mother's house. I don't have to go to church ever again. I can breathe deeply. I can do whatever I want today. I can wear what I want. I can listen to what I want. I can watch what I want. I have freedom. And like, just having said that to myself, just having taken the time to say that to myself really helped me to sort of be in the present and not be in the past. And it's not, I'm not going to lie, it's not that simple, right? Like, that's not going to cure your PTSD, saying be in the present. But it is a good thing to remind yourself, like, these emotions that I'm feeling, the fear that I'm feeling, and a lot of times, like with fear, I'm not even aware of it. And it's not even so much that I'm feeling the emotion. My body is afraid. So my body is like clenching up. I clench my jaw a lot when I'm feeling like this. My body clenches up and my heart races, and I'm bracing. My body is bracing itself for something really scary that just isn't coming because I'm not in that space anymore. So I have to spend time bringing myself into the present. So that little reminder helped a lot. And I think I'm going to try to schedule time, because sometimes when I'm in it, I don't know that I'm in it. Like, I can be deep into this place of walking around feeling like I'm still 12 years old. And so what I have to do is like schedule time, because when I'm in that place, I don't always know it. I'm not always aware. Sometimes, like after I've been in it for days, I'm just like, what is going on with me? Like, why am I feeling that way? I don't have any reason to be feeling that way. And then I can kind of pull myself out. But I think what I'm going to try is to schedule time to check in with myself and say, are you being in the present? Are you reminding myself sort of that I have these freedoms that I didn't have before, that I can nurture myself and love myself, and that I never have to go back to that place again. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and start doing tapping again. So if you're not familiar with emotional freedom technique, YouTube is a gold mine. Like, there are so many videos on like any topic you could think of. If there's something that you're dealing with that's hard, I highly suggest tapping. It really helped me. It was what I was using to manage my complex PTSD before I went to EMDR. And so with tapping, you're basically tapping on different parts of your body while saying things to yourself. And I find that when I'm having trouble being present, or when I feel stuck in the past, or when I'm having anxiety, it can really go a long way to help me feel more calm. The other thing that I need to really work on is breathing, because when I get anxious, I hold my breath. And so, along with reminding myself to check in and make sure that I'm living in the present, I also need to like check in and make sure that I'm breathing, because I didn't even realize I did this up until like maybe a year ago, when I started to realize that I spend a lot of time during the day where I'm just not breathing, where I'm like holding my breath. And so what I've done in the past is just remind myself, like, take 3 deep breaths, take 3 deep breaths. Every time I catch myself holding my breath, I take 3 deep breaths. And that seemed to help. Like, it seemed to sort of calm my body down and just help me to feel less clenched, I guess would be the word I would use, because I'm holding my breath, I'm grinding my teeth, I'm holding all my muscles really tight, which, also causes like aches and pains in my muscles, and it just makes moving through the day really hard. So that's my plan. We are about to move into my favorite month of the year. I love October. It's my favorite month. It's always been my favorite month. In fact, today I busted out my pretty blanket scarf, even though it's probably a tad too warm for it. I wanted to feel cozy and comforted. Oh, and that's the other thing. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression because of your church experience, I highly suggest just reminding yourself that it is okay to seek comfort. It's okay to do little things for yourself that are, might be seen as a little self-indulgent, but like, especially if you're like me and you have complex PTSD, I mean, this is a legitimate thing. It's a disability in a sense, and it does affect like all parts of your life. And sometimes when I'm in a bad place, kind of like I am now, I just have to do a little bit more for a while to get myself back to a more balanced place. And so just like if you had any other chronic illness and you had to do things now and then to sort of care for yourself, you shouldn't feel bad about having to take time to care for yourself because of your traumatic church experience. So for me, that looks like sleeping more, because when I'm suffering from anxiety, I tend to not sleep, and that's really unpleasant, and I'm just walking around like really tired and draggy, and my body hurts. And so when I'm feeling this way, I just have to sort of say to myself, it's really okay. It's really okay if you need to sleep. It's really okay. On the other hand, I also have to remind myself to exercise, to, go for a walk, to play with my dogs, to go to the gym, which are things that I enjoy. Because when I get into this sort of mind frame, I kind of just freeze. It's like I get overwhelmed in my brain and I can't decide what to do next. And so it helps me to have a plan to say, well, did you move today? Did you get enough sleep? Do you need sleep? Are you hungry? Because when I get kind of frozen like this with the complex PTSD, like sometimes I just won't eat because I can't decide what I want to eat. I'm overwhelmed. I'm anxious. And I just kind of freeze. So sort of reminding myself to do moving, eating, sleeping if I need more sleep. And then, just kind of be mindful. So like, I'm really interested in true crime, and I'm really interested in cults. And like, if it's a true crime that happened within a cult, that is my jam. And I listen to tons of podcasts and I watch lots of documentaries. I read about these things. But when I'm in this place, it's just not the best time to do that. I need to, if I'm going to take in media, I need to take in things that are uplifting and comforting for me, because sometimes taking in all of that true crime just makes me more anxious. And even though it's something that I really, really enjoy. So, just being a little bit more mindful about what I'm allowing into my head. And then I really like to do crafts. So picking a craft that is, relaxing and enjoyable, that that is relaxing and enjoyable, that isn't high pressure and isn't like, this is not the time to like teach yourself a new skill. Like, do a craft that is trusty, that you know how to do, that's relaxing, that's meditative. This is not the time to be like pushing yourself to learn something new. So that's a lot of information, and I'm hoping that, it's helpful. Again, if you haven't read my blog, you can find me at Surviving Church and Childhood over at WordPress. If I seem a little different in this video, like I noticed that like I'm doing pauses a lot. This is my anxiety response. Like, I get in this place where my brain just doesn't work at the same speed that it normally does. And so I have to think a little bit harder just to kind of function. But I'm going to get out of it. I didn't post this because I want you guys to worry about me. I posted this because I want you guys to see me as human, and I want you to understand that just because I talk frankly about these things or write frankly about them, that doesn't mean that I don't like deal with the consequences of that. And it doesn't mean that I'm just fine, and because I can talk about it, I'm okay, and I've got it all together, because I don't. And every day I'm like a lot of people with anxiety, like I'm working through it. Every day, like a lot of people that have complex PTSD, I get triggered by things. And sometimes it'll take me days to figure out what it was that caused that trigger. And so, I am just an ordinary woman trying to work through the trauma of my childhood, trying to live the best life that I can live, given what I went through as a kid. And sometimes I do better. I'm doing better than others. So I have been thinking a lot about Blogtober, or Vlogtober, I guess. I don't know that I could make a video every day, but I definitely can step up my video making game and try to upload some more videos. I am going out of town this weekend for a little getaway with my husband, but I will be back on Sunday night. And so I'm going to aim to try to get at least one video out next week. And I'm not sure what the topic is going to be yet. If you have suggestions of things that you would like me to talk about, please, please, please put them in the comments, because I would love to cover topics that are going to be meaningful for you and helpful for you. And so if there's something that I've written about or spoken about that you think, gee, I'd like to know more about that, or I'd like to hear how she handled that in more detail, please put it in the comments, and I would be happy to make a video about it next week. So I hope everybody's having a good week, and I hope that you've enjoyed September, and bring on the pumpkin spice, right? I love October. Anyways, okay. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good weekend.